with the whole controversy surrounding the Dominion voting scandal, putting cybersecurity front and center in the news cycle. My guest today is a leading expert who's going to give us some keen insights into all this. Roy Bettel of Graybeard Cybersecurity. He has over 20 years of experience in cybersecurity with extensive skills in networking and remote access, cloud design development. He has actually over 25 years of experience in information technology, including technical roles, a system administrator, network engineer, sales engineer, solutions architect, among others. He's worked for many industries with specific stints with technology, healthcare, financial services, and he is passionate about mentoring students and early professionals and seasoned cybersecurity individuals on how to enter into and flourish in the cybersecurity and information technologies field. So we're going to talk about the Dominion voting scandal. You're going to talk about what you need to know about the state of cybersecurity today and the prospects for fair and free elections in the future. And I'd be remiss not to mention that Graybeard Cybersecurity is a gold sponsor of our upcoming January 9th Saturday virtual conference that we're having. I think you're going to absolutely love it. We have a number of guests. It was just confirmed Doug Mastriano, a Pennsylvania senator, who got the ball rolling in Gettysburg. He's going to be with us on that day, and it's going to be an awesome conference. So you definitely want to sign up for that. And Roy Bettel and his company, Graybeard Cybersecurity, is a gold sponsor of that. So Roy, thank you so much for being on the Turley Talks podcast.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. We've been looking forward to this for a while.
Yeah, it's great. Well, let's dive right in here. So, we were talking before the podcast. You've got some amazing insights. Give us your assessment of just in general Dominion voting systems and what you believe happened or could have happened in that last election.
Well, so I'm trying to remember if it was Windows 95 or Windows 98. It was somewhere in that general vicinity where Microsoft stood up their first dedicated update server. Okay. Meaning that every operating system that they produced from that point forward defaulted to downloading updates on some sort of, weekly, monthly, however you set it up, right? So if you have like the Dominion voting machines, if you have a situation where the machines have not been updated for some extensive period of time, somebody had to go in and manually turn off automated updates. So I wasn't there when whatever was done was done. I just know that out of the box, a Microsoft operating system going back over 20 years is going to default automatically be turned on to download security updates and patches and fixes and so on and so forth. So if that's not running on those machines, somebody had to turn it off. I do know that when the Dominion voting machines were submitted to DEF CON, it was 8 years ago, something like that. They sent their machines to DEF CON and they didn't even get to the, how shall I put it, the 1% of black hats. It was an open event, so anybody with a laptop could take a shot at the machine. And on average, it was taking 2.5 minutes for the machine to be compromised and fully taken over. So make of that whatever you want to make of that. I didn't set the machines up. I wasn't running the machines. I didn't audit the machines. I'm looking at what has been publicly released, what has been publicly admitted to. Obviously, I have some other information, but just based on what's been publicly released, there's no way the updates don't run unless somebody manually turns it off. And it's not something you can do accidentally. In Windows 10, it takes, five different clicks of the mouse to turn off automatic updates. And if you want to turn off all of them, I want to say it's like 10 or 11 clicks because there's different sections you have to turn off. And then the fact that the newest operating system that they found on the Dominion voting machines wasn't even Windows 10, it was Windows 7. So this is an operating system that is still being supported, so on. And I really shouldn't cast aspersions on Microsoft because they are delivering some decent patches still for Windows 7, but they've made it very clear in multiple press releases that they are expiring support for this product. And that's the newest operating system? Oh, and updates are turned off? That's curious. I would tell you that in my professional opinion, the first time I did a cyber remediation was in 1993. About 2,000 machines got infected with a polymorphic virus called Satan's bug, and I had to clean all the machines. So I would tell you that in my personal and professional experience, the only way those machines are in that condition is if somebody intends to gain unauthorized access to it or provide that capability to a third party. Because no self-respecting systems administrator is going to deploy a Microsoft or any kind of machine. I don't care if it's Linux, Unix, Microsoft, Apple, it doesn't matter. You do not, under any circumstances whatsoever, produce a machine that goes into somebody else's hands and updates are turned off. Now, you may have those updates managed upstream or something like that, but you leave that function on because as the bad guys continue to expose flaws and weaknesses in various applications and programs and so forth, the manufacturer comes back and goes, oh, shoot, I didn't realize that. And they produce a patch and send it out. Well, if updates are turned off, you don't get the patch. Why would you do that?
Very suspicious indeed. Yeah.
Where there's smoke, there's fire.
That's right. That's right. or as the Pennsylvania Assembly said, if there's nothing to hide, why are you hiding? Yeah, that's
okay. So so shoe on the other foot, right? If there really wasn't an issue, I would be the first person to go, hey, come take a look.
Right. Right.
No issues. Take a look. It's right here.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Right. It's bizarre. They haven't testified yet, have they? In front of a single committee that I know of. I know they're supposed to testify in Pennsylvania, but they backed out and lawyered up. So
they backed out and lawyered up, and then the CEO did testify 2 days ago. I think it was 2 days ago, and by testify, I mean he read off a script.
Right. Right.
He did not testify. I am not aware that there was any cross-examination. There were questions posed. He read off a script, and it was done.
Right. Right. So in other words, yeah, there's not been real testimony, no cross-examination.
These are not the droids that you seek.
Yeah. There you go. I like that. This actually leads us into, I know a lot of our listeners are fascinated by the Sidney Powell Kraken case, but they're also very confused by it. It's right. I mean, the rhetoric surrounding it is astonishing. It's really, I mean, it's salacious. Let's be blunt. I mean, we're talking about the bringing down of the whole system here. This is amazing. Can you give us your basic assessment of her case from a cybersecurity perspective? Is there something in the case in particular that you find most intriguing, perhaps even most damning? Give us a sense of your sense of the Kraken case.
So what's important to understand about Kraken is a system designed to watch the watchers. Okay. When President Trump took office, actually before he took office, he was very well aware of the state of the Department of Defense. He was very well aware of the state of the intelligence community. That's why he made all the moves that he did over the last 4 years and is continuing to make moves. Kraken was designed to be a system that very, very few people actually have access to. And it is a system that watches the watchers. And what folks don't necessarily understand is that devices today, I don't care if it's a laptop, smartphone, Bluetooth watch, computer, server, firewall, load balancer, it doesn't matter. They all are designed at the hardware level as well as the software level to generate log data. All kinds of astounding amount of information is generated by even very simple devices. Okay. So monitoring systems, whether it's SolarWinds, to use a name that's in the media right now, or Zabbix or HP OpenView or any of these monitoring platforms, Xenos, etc. What they do is there's several different ways they connect to a remote device. And once that connection is established, based on the kind of connection, they are able to ingest all of that log data and interpret it, produce reports, generate alerts if there's something nefarious going on. In fact, there's so much information being generated now that there's the last probably 5 years, 6 years or so, there's been given rise to a new kind of software called a SIM tool, SEIM, Security Event Information Manager, because there is so much data being generated that a human being just looking at the log data generated by a handful of Windows laptops is going to be like, I don't know. So they have to create another piece of software that ingests all the data that was ingested by all the systems that are monitoring all the devices and can then produce a report and so on and so forth. So you take all these government agencies, state and local government, the intelligence agencies, the government contractors, all that sort of thing. So they have all of these systems in place to monitor all of their stuff for various and sundry security reasons, regulatory compliance, and all these different reasons. So they have all of this information being gathered from all of these devices that's going into a SolarWinds, that's going into an HP OpenView, that's going into, whatever. It's going into all these different tools, right? Kraken, this is the part people don't understand. Kraken sees all of those monitoring systems.
Wow.
All of them. That's why the courts don't want to hear the cases, because once they hear the cases, they're going to have to admit the evidence is real. That's my opinion on Sidney Powell's lawsuit, or series thereof.
Wow.
The Kraken literally saw everything. And I can talk about that because that's actually been released in the media.
Right. Well, that's fascinating. And actually that's perfect. That organizes it perfectly.
Sydney made a comment week ago, 10 days ago, something like that. She made a comment when she was talking to one of the new media folks, and I'm drawing a blank on who it was. It might have been Newsmax. But she made the comment. She goes, "It's not that we don't have any evidence." She said, "We have so much evidence, we're having a hard time managing it."
Right. I've heard that, exactly that. Yep.
So the evidence is there. And then today, the proof of the evidence happened in Antrim County. Antrim County just flipped to Trump today because they did an actual constitutional recount and it flipped to Trump.
Yep. So, Michigan. Yep.
Where there's
smoke. And it's and then Representative Finch in Arizona has helped to spearhead the subpoenas for all Dominion voting machines in Maricopa County, 4.5 million people. And the Michigan County was inspiration for that. Wait a minute, if you have 68% error rate in this small 15,000 voter county, what would happen if you got it same rate, 4.5 million? And Biden's only ahead, with 10,000 in Arizona. So this is extraordinary stuff. I mean, it's real. I mean, for me at the beginning, being a layman and all this, I thought this was just, good old fashioned low level ballot stuffing, suitcase gate and the like. It was that, certainly, but I mean, this is going to levels we never even dreamed. And of course, Sidney Powell and Lynn Wood, they've been on top of that from the very beginning.
As weird as it might sound, I respect, in a way, the hubris of the left. Okay. And Arizona is a perfect example of that. They had a Trump train just before the election, was 96 miles long. 96 miles of car after car after truck after truck after RV after RV after motorcycle after 96 miles. And it wasn't like they were spaced out 100 foot apart. I mean, the videos are up there.
Right.
And you want to tell me Maricopa County went with Biden? Seriously? That's some hubris right there, man.
Right. Wow. It is hubris. And I've always been so amazed that Trump could attract an infinitely larger crowd by not being there, even when he's not there, than Biden could ever attract when he actually came there. And it was, I think, Phoenix or Scottsdale, right around there, where he showed up with Kamala Harris, and like 2 or 3 people showed up with their cute little signs. And even the media had to admit, this is pretty sad. It's pretty terrible.
Well, there was the one where Obama, remember Obama went to stump for him, and
he's
they
got
had,
that.
was it
All
eight?
his mojo is gone. Yep.
Yeah, like 8 people showed up, and on the same day, Trump had a rally. It was one of the southern states. I want to say North Carolina, but I could be wrong. And they had like 30,000 people and had to turn away 18,000 people because they just didn't have chairs. It wasn't like social distancing issues. There were no chairs.
There were no chairs. Right.
Yeah, it's like, oh my goodness gracious. And you want us to believe he won.
Right, exactly. Yeah. He only won 17% of the counties in our nation. Obama almost doubled the amount of counties that Biden won, and yet we're expected to believe, this was back in 2008, and we're expected to believe he got what, 10, 15 million more votes than Obama. It stretches credulity. Pivoting over just in general in what you do, obviously the digital world's here to stay. In many respects, it's actually just getting started. So your work in cybersecurity promises to grow by leaps and bounds. And as the world more and more embraces digital transformation, what's the overall state of cybersecurity? What drives its innovations, its business models, and the like? You're really into mentoring and the like. Give us a sense of that.
Well, what I try to get people to understand is that an ounce of prevention really is worth a pound of cure in the world of cybersecurity. I'll give you an example. So one of the more common hacks, if you will, although in our world, a hacker is actually an honorable term, because a hacker is somebody who can build their own Unix kernel. But Hollywood came out with a movie, and hacker sounded less racially oriented than cracker, which is what we call them. We call the bad guys crackers, not because they're white, but because they cracked into a system. Safe cracker. That's where it came from. Safe cracker. There's a certain amount of challenge if somebody, for instance, gets into your website and replaces your content with a porn video. And your customer comes, or a prospect comes to your website to buy roofing supplies or whatever, and is treated to a video that didn't see that today. I was looking for shingles. So that is actually a relatively low level breach in our world. What we're seeing now, and that's one of the reasons that we put the company together and started really pushing the portfolio or platform, what do you want to call it, that we're pushing now, is because what we're seeing now is because of the Trump administration's very, very serious crackdown. People don't realize the stats around the human trafficking stuff he's been doing. It is mind blowing. Look, dude, I'm not going to go there. That's another rabbit trail. It's amazing the work that man has done to protect our children. So the bad guys have had to get very creative in how they distribute their content to their subscribers. So one of the more nefarious types of cracks that we're seeing now is somebody will root your web server, and they'll create a hidden directory. So it's kept out of any backup systems that you have running. In other words, if your normal daily backup of your web server was, let's say, a gigabyte of data, and then, which is a huge website, but let's say it was, and then all of a sudden you're backing up 30 gigs of data, you're gonna be like, whoa, what happened? So they do a hidden directory. They keep it outside any backup routines. So unless you got somebody who's really on top of it and really digging into everything that's going on with your website on a daily basis, you're not going to see it. And then they'll dump a bunch of child porn on your web server, and they'll use your CPU resources, your RAM, your network, your storage, and so forth. And you become a distribution hub on their pornography or their child pornography network. And you don't know anything about it until all of a sudden, the handsome young men in the dark blue suits with the sunglasses show up knocking on your door, and they impound all of your computer systems and put you out of business.
Right.
We see that an uncomfortably significant number of times. That is extremely expensive to recover from. Now, assuming that you're actually not, in this particular scenario, whoever it was that got hacked actually isn't a child pornographer, tens of thousands of dollars worth of legal fees later, and cybersecurity forensic analysis and so on and so forth, you'll eventually prove your innocence. You'll get all your computers back. You'll be able to go back in business and so on and so forth. So let's talk a little bit about the damage to your reputation. All the customers that you had for the 6 to 8 months that you were out of commission while your case was working its way through the courts, well, they still need to buy stuff. Guess where they bought it from? Your competitor.
Hmm.
So when you're finally back in business, do you have a business?
Right.
That's what we're seeing. And that's one of the reasons that we focus on websites, because that's your reputation. Websites, over 50% of websites get hacked every year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They get hacked and zombied. They get turned into bots that are used for distributed denial of service attacks. They get turned into distribution hubs for stolen art, like movies and software and so forth. They get turned into distribution hubs for pornography, child pornography, and terrorist outfit, all that stuff. They zombie your server. They get into your server and they use your hosting relationship with Amazon or Google or any of these other outfits, or you're doing it yourself or whatever. And they use your machine, virtual or otherwise, to conduct their business at your expense. And then again, at some point, depending on what kind of nefarious business your web server is unknowingly engaged in, the handsome young men in the dark blue suits show up at your door and you just lost your business. Congratulations. That's what we're seeing a lot of. I would say, generally speaking, and this is a very, very wide paintbrush, generally speaking, cybersecurity is orders of magnitude worse now than it was a year ago, because everybody's telecommuting.
Right.
If you had a job 9 months ago where you got up at 8 o'clock or whatever, brush your teeth, go to work, those people that had some sort of physical work location that was other than their home, less than 17% of those people have gone back to some sort of office location. Less than 17%. Okay. So all of a sudden, when you had your employees in your office and you had your firewall and all the stuff that you were doing to protect your office, those employees are now accessing your company's resources via DSL, cable, however they're getting there. And just curious, do you think they have as much security at their home as they had when they were at the office? The answer is
Not
no.
even close. Right. Not even close.
Not within a country mile. So right now, cybersecurity is we are in a much worse posture globally than we were before the whole COVID-19. Let's not go down that rabbit hole. That's a you think the Dominion voting scandal is a big con job, but anyway. So the state of cybersecurity is worse now than it has ever been, and it's getting worse. We're seeing more than 400% increase in cyber attacks over the same time last year. There's over 600% increase in the number of ransomware, or I should say malware payloads out there. You want to talk about cybersecurity in this state? Check this out. So you have an employee come up to you and say, "Hey, I deserve a raise," but they don't. So you say, "Well, I can't do that right now. COVID-19, blah blah blah, whatever." So they get mad at you, and they go contact one of the ransomware manufacturers out of Eastern Europe or South America or North Africa, and for a nominal deposit of 5,000 or less, the writers on the other end produce a piece of ransomware that's custom made for your company. And then that employee goes and logs into company resources, and they stick a USB drive in their laptop, and then click, click, and all of a sudden the ransomware hits your network from an authorized position, meaning it doesn't trip whatever sensors you have, because this user is authorized to access the network. So now the ransomware spiders your network, figures out who the CEO is, who the CFO is, figures out where the finance server is, where the email server is, figures out where all that stuff is, sends all that information via encrypted blockchain back to the people that are actually running it, and wherever they are in the world. And at some point you get hit with a ransom demand. We're going to lock you out of all of your systems if you don't pay us $100,000, $50,000, whatever. And if you don't, they actually do lock you out. And then you pay, or you go out of business. And when they get paid, the relationship with the employee, the disgruntled employee, is that the employee gets a healthy chunk of the ransom. That's going on all the time. And the thing that I keep trying and this is where the mentoring comes in, is I try to help people understand, listen, you don't need to be afraid of this stuff, because it's not that difficult, nor is it that expensive to prepare yourself so that that doesn't happen to you.
Right.
The thing that annoys me the most after nearly 30 years of doing this is I only get called in when Rome's on fire.
Yeah.
It's like, why don't you bring me in to put fire sprinklers in?
Yeah. That's that pound of cure. Yeah. Yeah.
Ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. That's why we put it in all of our advertising, because I want people to realize, look, if you were a 100-employee company, let's say, and you got an all the bells and whistles package from us, the average breach remediation for a company your size, and this is over about a 42 month period, because you got to deal with the cost of PR to rebuild your reputation, and you got to deal with the acquisition cost of new customers to replace the ones that you lost when you're out of commission, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. Over the 40 to 42 month period of time, according to Ponemon Research and IBM Research, they did a big study earlier this year. The average breach is going to cost you about $3 million, actually more than $3 million.
Wow.
So if you've got that kicking around and you haven't got anything else you want to spend it on, then hey, knock yourself out. If you don't, a full spectrum package from us, and again, depends on people's insurance worthiness and all that. There's stuff that goes into that. Worst case scenario, a full package from us is going to cost you less than 100 grand a year, or
Right.
3 million.
Right. Right. There you go. There's your ounce of prevention, pound of cure. That.
Take your pick.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. What do you think's the most, I mean, based on your experience, what's the most critical step to start with as, say, a small business owner, getting into cybersecurity, accessing the benefits of it, and then just give us a sense too of how Graybeard Security is positioned to help with those critical steps.
Well, we've been doing this a long time. One of the biggest challenges facing the problem of improving cybersecurity on a global level is that to be good at cybersecurity, you have to be good at the entire, what's known as the OSI model, all 7 layers. You have to understand the transport layer, the application layer, you have to understand how all that stuff works. You have to understand how storage works, how networking works, how abstraction works. You have to understand how all these different things work, and not from the perspective of you read a book and passed a test, but you need to be able to turn a wrench.
Right. Right.
If you can't turn a wrench, it's not that you're no good. It's that you're lacking the experience to understand where you need to put things in order to protect yourself. Right. So what we did is, when we decided to start to launch Graybeard and start pushing the stuff that we're pushing, is we said, look, it's too big of a puzzle for us to have because there is no one size fits all approach to cybersecurity. The big joke in information technology is, the nice thing about standards is there's so many of them. So, and that's true, because no two networks are the same. I don't care if you run the exact same laptops and operating system, and you have the same networking gear, and you have the same storage platform, blah, 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 between company A and company B. Company A's got one set of network administrators, company B's got a different set of network administrators, and they both know the right way to do things. Right? Which is the problem with cybersecurity. You have to understand all of that and be able to move between different designs and configurations and so forth, and close all the doors. So what we do with people is say, look, our job, Graybeard Security's job, protect your reputation, which is the website, and get you a cyber liability policy, because you'd be astonished to know less than 13% of businesses in the United States, less than 13% have a cyber liability policy. And I'm telling you right now, out of the last 100 customers that I talked with, less than 10 of them even knew what that was. They don't even know that this insurance exists, but it actually does. So less than 13% of all companies in America actually have a cyber liability policy. Of that 13%, less than 20% had enough coverage to actually protect them in the event of a breach. So what we do is we say, we're going to protect your reputation and we're going to protect your wallet. Those are the two things we're going to protect, because when you have a bad day, you need an easy button. You need
Right.
something that keeps you in business while you bring in, and we have the ability to turn a wrench through our partner network on 5 continents. So it's, we can get to where you are. In the event that you have a really bad day, what we want to do is protect your reputation so that if your email server gets jacked or something, get ransomware or whatever, at least your website is protected. At least your customers aren't going to be treated to a porn video when they come to buy shingles.
Right.
And you have an insurance policy that you can draw on while you bring in the experts to figure out what happened and close all the doors and all the rest of that kind of stuff. That was the best way after years and years and years of doing this, that we're like, okay, if we do this, then we can actually protect people as much as possible, given all of the things that actually fall into the cybersecurity junk drawer that need to be dealt with if you're really going to be secure.
Right. Right. Wow. Amazing, Roy. And again, it's a burgeoning business. I mean, the world's getting digitalized, and this is, in many respects, we're just at the beginnings of cybersecurity. It's absolutely fascinating stuff. Can't thank you enough for giving us your time and your expertise during these really critical times. How can people get in touch with you, Roy, if they want to learn more?
Well, so we actually have a banner ad, which I guess is going to be in the emails that you send out, and it's going to be on the website and some other stuff. So that's one way. You can also go to www.graybeardsecurity.io, GRAYBEARD security.io, and get more information about us and what we do and how we do it and so forth. I don't want to put the sales guy hat on because it comes across as, the used car salesman, but people, I'm telling you, especially now, we've got an economy that is on the one hand, it's doing well, but there's entire industry verticals that are not doing well.
Right.
And I can't imagine making a bad situation worse, but for you to get hacked and all of a sudden you're actually not in business.
Right.
And so that's our heart, our passion is to put people in a situation where they are protected and they are prepared. It's like, when some of the sponsors you've had before, like My Patriot Supply and stuff like that. It's kind of like, in a way, it's a lot like the Second Amendment. I'd rather have one and not need it than need one and not have it.
Absolutely.
Ounce of prevention, pound of cure, all that stuff comes into the same thing. Your business relies upon your reputation and sufficient finances on your end to be able to execute whatever deal it is your customer just signed up for. If you don't have those two things, you're in trouble. And that's why those are the two things that we decided to, because we can't, it is impossible. I mean, look at FireEye. FireEye is one of the best in the business. Seriously, they are. They're very good. They got compromised. Okay. Because there's no realistic way for any one technology or any one organization to actually cover all of the bases. I get the human thing, right? I just want to check the box. We're good. It doesn't work that way. Not in cybersecurity. There are way too many doors that can be gone through by somebody with nefarious intent. So you have to take the layers. You have to go, okay, well, if I can't do everything in one shot, where's the highest and best use of what resources I do have? And again, that's why we're doing things the way we're doing them.
Fantastic. This has been so informative. You should know too, I've had a few of my students at the classical school go off to Grand Canyon University, where they have a really good cybersecurity major there, and they're eating it up. They absolutely love it. Can't thank you enough, Roy Bettel, Graybeard Cybersecurity. Once again, gang, they are a gold sponsor of our January 9th virtual conference coming up. We'd love for you to be a part of that and be with us and with Graybeard Cybersecurity and with Senator Doug Mastriano, and other guests too are lining up as we speak, some really exciting ones. So again, Roy, thank you so much. It's been so informative. Thanks for blessing us today with your wealth of knowledge. A Merry Christmas to you and yours, and a glorious and happy new year. Thanks again for being with us.
You as well. Thanks so much for having me. It was an honor to meet you. I look forward to my Turley Talk videos every day, just like everybody else. So hurry up and upload some more. I'm all caught up. You need to give me some more content now. Let's go.
You got it. You got it, my friend. Absolutely.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.